So today I wanted to talk about a really simple concept that I've discussed before, but I just want to cover it again because I think it's important and useful, and because I think it might streamline people's practice a little bit, because I think we have a tendency to feel like there's these separate issues, separate areas of jazz guitar playing. So, oh, I've got to work on my comping, or I've got to work on my chord melody, or I've got to work on my soloing. And I think like it's more healthy to have everything integrated. So the way I like to view my playing increasingly these days is I have different gigs. For instance, it might be a duo with a singer, it might be a trio with bass and drums, it might be a quartet or quintet gig where I'm the comping instrument, it might be a gig where there's a piano or organ, so I don't need to comp. It might be a gig where there's a lot going on, piano and guitar are both comping instruments and you have to find a space within that. So because of that, you kind of need to have a series of almost like, to use a computer game analogy, like sliders that you can move left and right to decide exactly how busy or complex or fat your playing is going to be, whatever term you like. So, and obviously the bigger the ensemble in general, the less you play. But being able to go from, say, pure single note playing to purely chordal playing and find lots of sort of gradations in between those two extremes is something that has now become a bit of a priority in my playing. So what does that mean in practice? Well, I think increasingly by using really the guitar grips as a basic reference point for playing, as obvious as that sounds, you can actually do a lot of that. So for instance, probably what would be harder for most people coming into jazz guitar would be to do the kind of gig where you have just a singer and a horn player and yourself, and then it's all fine, you're accompanying the singer with a horn player, but then you have to take a solo. And I remember when I first started doing this kind of thing, it used to scare the crap out of me because you know, like you're solely responsible for keeping the form and the time and the harmony going in your playing, and that's a lot. But actually, I basically mostly practice that way, and I'm not saying that I'm great at it, but I'm saying that I'm a tremendously large amount more comfortable doing that kind of thing than I was maybe 10 or 15 years ago, just because I do it all the time. And my sort of primary technique is very simple really for doing that kind of stuff. So if I'm going to demonstrate maybe, I don't know, something like a Starlight Starlight. Another example, I've made a funny mistake there actually, which you may have noticed in the bridge. But the basic technique I think I demonstrated well enough, which is that I'm using chord shapes really. So for instance, you know, the first two chords that most people play on Stella, there'll always be a comment in the comments section about how the first chord of Stella by Starlight is diminished. There's always a smart person who wants to say that, and of course that's true, but most people play that 2/5, including most of my heroes. I mean, the diminished is nice. course. You're not limited to using just one, and depending on your proclivities at that particular moment, you can use either. So I mean, so let's take this E minor 7 flat 5 A7 altered thing. So if I just take this basic chord shape, which is the half diminished here, or that kind of thing. So basically, I'll just run it into a line. So so I'm using the A7 as a basis, and then I'm sort of running actually a kind of diminished bebop line over the top of it. In this case. And then like a dominant shape. But the interesting thing about it is a lot of the time you don't really need to play too much out of each chord for a melody line. So you can just take a chord shape. So sorry, I'm a bit ahead there. And then whatever you play for the E flat major, so it could be this. Okay, so what I'm doing now is really, really simple. I don't know if you can appreciate it from the way my fingers are moving, but I'm just literally just breaking up the chords into little melodies. Mostly at the top notes of the chords. So for instance, if I got this B flat 13, I've got those notes out of the chord, and of course I'm not limited just to using the chord notes. I can do little chromatic things. And then, A7. So it can be very creative, I think, but you're always very close to a chord shape that you can grab. So again, if I do it in a different position, I like to play this one a lot, which is like based around the E flat drop 2 shape, E flat major drop 2 shape, major 7th. Sorry, what was that? B flat, isn't it? And then, okay, A. And you always have the option, maybe, of doing something a little bit more kind of. Doing something a little bit more horn-like, perhaps. And doing a little run of something without chordal accompaniment, as long as you know where you're ending up. So I find this is like a really fruitful way to play. Let me take another example out of nowhere. So there's a lot of fun I find, it's not entirely out of the chord shapes. Like for instance, when I play that, E flat 7 shape, I'm aware it's a sharp 11th chord, so I like to play this little, F major triad over the top of it. Because that kind of, sharp 11th sound. I can relate to that chord shape, for instance, or this one. I'm playing this, I'm aware. Okay, this has got this is the first inversion G major 7th chord, so I'm aware there's a B triad I can play over. I mean, you find Then I use this shape, which is the sort of, I suppose you call it D diminished major 7th, or a D, it's a D flat triad over a D bass note. And then I can play my D. And then I use a little run there, right, just to kind of get myself into a different place. So I think like this is nice. I think it has a lot of direct relationship to the instrument. You know, again, like things like All the Things You Are. So it's, I suppose what I'm really aiming for is an integration in the way I play chords and the way I play lines. So I'm always trying to sort of aim to find lines I can play around the chords, and that kind of, the more chords you know, if I can play like the first chord of All the Things You Are in different positions, so obviously there's this position, which works as a chord melody, but if I go, I do that one as well, this is a nice one. It's a major 6th, right? A flat major 6th, the same as F minor 7th. I can use passing chords as well, of course. So let's try that again. So one little side note is that I find that when I'm playing this way, I'm a lot more thumb over, which is also how I notice how my big sort of, guitar idol at the moment, Peter Bernstein, does it. He always often has his thumb over. I mean, he can play with his thumb behind, but often has his thumb over. And I find like it's just kind of probably the way I play chords. Maybe if you play chords in a much more classical way, you find it easier to have your thumb behind the neck. But just for me, I certainly find that like I am. Start to kind of integrate like the worlds of comping, chord soloing, chord melody, and playing improvised solos, and I think that's a really, really good thing, because I think often we just think of them as being completely separate areas. For instance, if I take something like, let's do another tune. Let's take, what's a good one? I seem to play everything in G at the moment for some reason. I don't know why. Oh, I don't know. Okay, so happen to you. So if you look at the chords for that, start off with the E. I mean, it's got a lot of chords in it. So